What I want you to do to start is take your setup, get your takeaway in like normal. Now from here to the top, while keeping your left shoulder down, get the grip to hit the wall. And then in transition, I want the club to ride down the wall until about left arm parallel. From there, it can come off the wall into impact. And then frankly, in the follow through, you should get close to refinding the wall. Hey guys, so it's that time of year again for us at CogornoGolf.com. Our prices will be going up as of July 15th. And I want to make sure you're aware of this. So if you sign up before July 15th, you lock in our current prices forever for as long as you're a member. So currently our prices are $69 a month or $495 for our yearly price. As of July 15th, they will be going up to $89 a month and $595 for the yearly. You guys have showed us awesome support, and to keep up with our demand, right, we have no choice, but eventually we have to raise some of those prices. Myself and all of our coaches are there 24/7 for you to send in your swings, right? We give you that monthly feedback that you get and answer all the questions you have. I'm telling you guys, it's awesome. I wish I had this back when I was playing to use as a resource. You get all of our practice plans. You get a specific plan from a coach, what drills to do, what priorities to focus on, what not to focus on, how many reps to do of those drills, when to move on to the next piece. And guess what? We don't just leave you go do them. We're there. Ask us questions. We help you guide through feels. All of us have been working on our own games. We know what it's like to take your game to the next level. You're going to absolutely love our community there. July 15th is when those prices go up. If you want to lock in that lower price, you've been thinking about joining, I urge you to do so. I'm very confident we can help you with your golf game. We'll put the link to Cogorno Golf down below. So you guys know normally we talk about steepening the backswing shaft to shallow the downswing, but in today's video, we're going to talk about why maybe shallowing the backswing a little bit more and a little bit sooner may be an easier way for you to shallow your downswing. Let me show you what I'm talking about. When we're talking about shallowing the backswing to help shallow the downswing, I want to show you what I'm talking about here. So let's get Grant. We use him as a model a lot. We'll get him about left arm parallel. You can see the butt of the club, if I draw that good, the shaft line is about just outside the golf ball line. Now from here, a lot of times in our videos, you'll notice that I mentioned, hey, let's err on getting the butt of the club a little more vertical, somewhere in between this safe zone of the toe line and the golf ball line, because of the whole equal and opposite, right? A more vertical shaft going back would make it easier to shallow it coming down. And that is absolutely true. But as time has gone on and we coach, and I specifically coach more and more online and less in person, I've found that just as many people are able to shallow their downswing with a more shallow backswing. There's a couple keys we have to go over for this. When I say more shallow backswing, let's reference his plane line here at left arm parallel. Now if we get him up to the top, you'll see that he's definitely steepened the shaft relative to where he was. Steepened meaning it's more vertical, less horizontal. So if he really shallowed it more, it would be more on this plane line, right? Like a Sergio. So he's definitely steepened it here. But there's a couple key checkpoints that I find work really well for players to be able to shallow that downswing. Now, if I take him back to his setup position, in fact, let's get him to impact just for a minute. So here's the impact alignment, that the shaft angle that he needs to get to on the way down. And I explain it this way, and I think it'll make sense. Here's the shaft angle he needs to get to on the way down. So at the top of the swing, the more parallel to that shaft line at impact he is, the easier his life is going to be. So I'll redraw that here just so you can see it. So essentially it's about this angle. So notice where his club is at the top. That's pretty darn close to being parallel to where he was or where he's going to need to be at impact. Maybe we can't see that blue line. Let's try orange there. So that line is pretty parallel to this yellow line down here, meaning he's not going to have to do a whole heck of a lot of work once he shallows that to start to come down. And even from where he is at the top here, this angle here is pretty darn close to that bottom angle. He doesn't need to work a lot. So he essentially needs to only shallow it about this much during that downswing, right? That's not that bad. Now, I see a lot of players come in who get the shaft more here, which you can do, more here, and even across the line. Now, this across the line shaft works nicely in terms of shallowing it back this way if, and this is a big, big if, you have sufficient body turn
and good width of your arm structure, meaning your arms aren't overfolded, your wrists aren't overfolded. So when you see really good players and their shafts across the line, they say, hey, that'll help shallow your downswing. That's true if you got there with good structure, lots of body turn, good arm structure. I would say 95% of players I see, these aren't tour guys, right? These are just us average golfers who get across the line. They get across the line because the right arm overbends, the left arm overbends, or they overhinge, meaning they do things that are not good structure. And what all those things lead to inevitably is a steep shaft coming down. Now notice, steep shaft meaning here, notice where Grant's shaft plane is coming down. It's almost right on the same plane line he was going back. Now he was, again, a bit more horizontal going back, just outside the ball line. And he's able to just come right back down on that line. So he doesn't have to shift planes as much. As time goes on, and I'm with people less and less in person, I'm starting to like this option more and more because I think it's easier for a lot of people. And we'll talk through the drill here, how to do this in a moment. So a couple key checkpoints I look for when I'm working with someone how to feel this and what they're looking for on the camera. One would be draw a line down the butt of the club, and the club head should be to the left of that line or behind your hands. And the reason for that is shallow is what? What do we look for when we look at shallow? The club head would be the most behind the hands. When we deliver the club at last parallel, we want the club behind the hands, right, or to the left of from our viewpoint. So checkpoint number one is have the butt of the club, have the club head rather, to the left of your hands, behind them. And checkpoint two I would just look at is where is the club in general. And when I see players who are able to get the club head on or behind their heel line, here, and we'll talk about this with our wall drill, that gives them the easiest time to shallow it, get it even farther behind them coming down, shallowing. The error here, what I see all the time, is the player would get the club shaft on about this line, over here, and so the club head would be like over their toe line, which means to get back to this same spot that Grant was, or about right here on this line, they would have to shallow that club and whip that thing behind them this much distance in a very short period of time, and I found that's very difficult for people to do. So club head behind the hands at the top makes it easier to shallow coming down. For most people, we're going to need to feel like from left arm parallel to the top is when we do the shallowing, is when we get the club head to the wall. Let's talk more about that.
All right, guys, so here is the wall drill. This is how I would practice potentially shallowing the backswing to help shallow the downswing. We saw all the checkpoints there with Grant. I would take my setup. Now, you could do this at home against your garage or just in your house. I got a brick wall behind me, so I'm gonna flip my club upside down, but you also could use the other end here. When I take my setup position, I'm gonna set up with the wall roughly 2 feet behind my heel line. Roughly 2 feet behind my heel line. What I want you to do to start is take your setup, get your takeaway in like normal. Now from here to the top, while keeping your left shoulder down, get the grip to hit the wall. And then in transition, I want the club to ride down the wall until about left arm parallel. From there, it can come off the wall into impact. And then frankly, in the follow through, you should get close to refinding the wall. But for the sake of the backswing, takeaway is normal. Left shoulder sit down. I don't go left shoulder up to get it there, right? I keep my left shoulder down. And what I'm really doing is add a little bit of lead arm pronation. Let my glove logo go up towards the sky a little bit. My left palm down towards the ground a little bit. I can even feel my right palm point a little more up towards the sky. So I'm pitching the shaft a little bit horizontal. Now how this works, and to avoid that equal and opposite steepening effect, is when you pitch it horizontal, feel a little bit more of the same thing in transition. So from the takeaway to the top, if I feel left palm down, I want to feel left palm down early in transition as well. I only keep it on the wall till left arm parallel. If I felt right palm up, supination, from here to the top, I want to feel a little bit more of that in transition. Let it go off the wall and hit it. If you've got a foam ball, you can do this right at home, right against a garage. Here, up to the wall, let it ride down the wall to left arm parallel and swing through. That way, by presetting that shaft angle on the angle you started with parallel to where it wants to be at impact like I showed you, That can be a lot easier than doing the other option we normally talk about, which is steepening. This is the wall drill. Go ahead and try it out at home.